Okay, hi everybody. We'll get started now and just let some more people come through. So I'm running the call today as Shelby, our governance facilitator, is offline for most of August. So bear with me. I'll try to do as good of a job as she does. And so because of that, I just got back from vacation. So this will probably be a pretty light update. That's kind of referring to, I think, a couple upcoming governance items that are happening that I wanted to share with everybody. So as always, if you have questions or would like to speak, just feel free to raise your hand or post a question in the meetings chat. We'll be sharing any links there. Yeah, I think that we can just get started today with just giving a little overview of what's been happening in the forum. Again, I've been on vacation, so I can't say that I've read all of the forum posts up, but I wanted to highlight that we have a new temperature check up from Enzyme with regards to treasury management. This is actually a team that Shelby and I have been chatting with a bit, who are working on a treasury management solution, basically supporting DAOs with just basically treasury management strategies and execution. And so they have a really developed product. Really excited to see the temperature check up in the forum. I know that this is relevant to a lot of other conversations that I've been having in the community. I know that last week while I was out, there was a treasury management brainstorm. I'm not sure if anybody here was there, but if you were and are interested in speaking, feel free to raise your hand because I'm sure everybody would love to hear an overview on how that call went. So feel free to do that now or just drop a note in meetings and then I can add you and pass it over to you. But I'd urge everybody who is a part of that conversation or interested in treasury management in general to go take a look at that temperature check to see what Enzyme is proposing. So that's very exciting. The next governance action, which I can't refer you to a post, but I can tell you it's going up today, is the official on-chain proposal for the Public Goods Alliance between Gitcoin and Radicle. So this is very exciting. This is basically like an exchange of governance power between the Gitcoin DAO and the Radicle DAO. That has been proposed, and the proposal developed by the Llama team. And so this is like a really, really awesome collaboration that we're excited to see make its way to the final stage of governance. And so that will go up for official on-chain voting this afternoon, I think. Cloudhead is getting the proposal together now. So that will be just a reminder, since we haven't had an on-chain proposal in a while, we use the governance updates channel to share like official voting reminders and announcements. So keep an eye out there and get ready to participate in this very exciting on-chain governance proposal. So I think that should be really cool, and I'm really excited to see it finally make its way to an on-chain vote. The Llama team spent a lot of time working on it. So I'll share the formal review maybe, just so if this is your first time hearing about the Public Goods Alliance, you can take a look and check it out. I can just share it in the meetings thing, and then like Shelby does, I will share the link to the Enzyme temperature check as well, so everybody has quick access to it. Cool, so that's most of the governance action that has been happening now. Again, I'd love to be able to give more of an update on the treasury management strategy update. I'm not sure if anybody, so I guess nobody was here for that. We'll just have to maybe wait for Shelby for when she comes back to kind of give an overview. So we'll end there. I think that if anybody has questions about that, feel free to, this is your time to drop them now or raise your hand. And if not, I will keep moving into our transition to the DAO updates. So August is a pretty slow month. We just came off of a big contributor offsite in Paris. So I'm not, and Shelby's not here, so we're not going to have any updates from the DAO tooling side of things. But we do have updates from the org design workstream and the distribution of ownership workstream. I'll start with the distribution of ownership workstream, and then me, Angie, and Louis, who should be joining in a little bit, can join and talk a little bit more about org design. So with regards to the distribution of ownership workstream, I was hoping that I'd be able to link the temperature check actually IRL today, but we got held up with another meeting. But that also should be another temperature check that drops on the forum. But as everybody knows, the distribution of ownership workstream is responsible for developing a plan for distributing ownership of the Radicle network. And so the goal is to help the DAO design and implement strategies for distributing token rewards to network stakeholders, including contributors, users, and ecosystem partners. And so we're very excited that we're actually proposing we're putting forward and publishing the phase 1 proposal for the distribution of ownership workstream to the forum today. As a reminder, phase 0, which is kind of just the first part of this distribution of ownership, which is designing and proposing a strategy to the DAO for incentivizing current contributors, is for ensuring that all Radicle contributors can participate actively in the governance of the Radicle DAO. And so basically we're supporting the DAO and proposing to the DAO a strategy for incentivizing current contributors that in our eyes, helps contributors have more of an equal and democratic distribution of ownership of the network. So that's super exciting. It's coming as a part of this like two-part also another phase 0 proposal. It's kind of like the first step for transitioning to the DAO. We're also going to be proposing to fund all development via the DAO through the foundation as a medium, but instead of using the foundation's funds, to use the DAO funds. So this is like a really big leap actually for the transition. And so the temperature check will kind of like outline the details, but it's like a really great progressive start to transitioning everybody to the DAO. So I would be sure to take a look at that. I think it's really awesome to finally get it out, as it's great to be able to incentivize current contributors, and I'm really excited for this to happen and to already start with our community today. And it'll also be like a really great leaping off point to start exploring the next phases of the distribution of ownership work stream, such as rewarding future contributors, ecosystem partners, developing a plan for token swaps, and so on. So yes, sorry to seed excitement for a temperature check that's not up, but that should be up later today. So then we can move on to again, drop any questions in meetings. I have my eye on it if you have any questions. But that leads me to the updates from the org design workstream, which Angie is here, and Louis should be joining in a couple of minutes as well. So we wanted to give a couple updates on that as well. Angie and I were both on vacation last week, but we had the week before to digest some of the outcomes of the Paris contributor offsite that we held during ECC. So for those who weren't aware of what this event is, we basically hold these unofficial contributor offsites, usually around Ethereum events. And this one, we actually focused heavily on our transition with the goal of introducing our contributors to the concepts that are brewing with regards to the new organizational design that they'll be participating in as contributors to the Radicle DAO. And this was everything from pitching our first, basically concept of what this MV DAO could look like, to workshopping the different responsibilities that we see falling on the DAO, and how our contributors could participate and what they'd like to see from an organizational design that will best support their work and contributions as a core team member. So yeah, more will come on like what the actual design is, as we were really just workshopping a couple ideas, but it was just a huge workshop, 2 days of just kind of brainstorming around like what is the best way that we can fund and coordinate the core development work of the Radicle project. And so that was really exciting. And so 2 weeks ago was spent just like digesting all of the ideas, insights, comments, feedback that were pulled from those offsites, and turning them into some actionable next steps. So first, I wanted to highlight that we've actually created 2 more channels in the governance category in an effort to open up this work to more people. So the org design workstream is an open channel that everybody can use to discuss the work that falls underneath the org design umbrella. And so we're actually going to be sharing I don't want to commit to weekly, but frequent updates, less in long form on Discord and more sync in this work stream so people can stay up to date with what we're working on week to week, since there's a lot of stuff to do before over the next 6 months. And so I just kind of wanted to verbally walk through what that first update is and where our sites are set now. And also highlight that Shelby also created a DAO tooling workstream channel to discuss more about what tooling we're adopting and how she's going about her research. So with regards to where we're going now after this amazing contributor offsite with the org design, is that we're basically moving into the next iteration of this MV DAO, which is this minimum viable organizational design that we're proposing our core team contributors adopt to transfer responsibilities from the Foundation Council to the Radicle DAO. And so before we jump into how to do that, we thought that there was a little bit more work that we needed to do to scope, what this organizational design should be and how it should basically be administered. And so something that we pulled from the offsite, we pulled like a couple, like 3, I guess, conclusions of next steps and work that we could start tackling together collectively. And so I wanted to just like run through those. Angie, feel free to hop in whenever if you'd like. I'm just going to run through the overview and then quickly talk through the document that will be shared on the forum later this week. But so basically we thought that to inform the next iteration of the org design phase, we think it would be valuable to 1, develop and ratify a Radicle mission purpose document. And so this spurred from the idea that to collectively make decisions with regards to what should be funded by the Radicle DAO, we need to have something that we can align ourselves under that will help us make decisions on what should get funded, and everybody agreed that having something that relates to the Radicle mission and purpose is fundamental to making those funding decisions. What's good is that we've already started on this work. So if people remember, Tom and I started venturing on this collaborative visioning exercise in an effort to already start decentralizing the visioning of the project away from the Foundation Council by starting to develop a collaborative vision document that takes in contributor insights and feedback. And so basically we collected a ton of responses from this type form and have been spending like the last month digesting it. And so what's cool is that this desire to have a mission purpose document really, really aligns with this collaborative vision work that Tom and I were already venturing on. And so one of the first immediate action items is actually to draft a first stab at this Radicle mission purpose document that we can share with the greater community. The goal here isn't to get it completely ratified by the community, through some DAO process. It's actually to get alignment of our core teams and contributors and then start escalating the vision through there. The goal here is to align our core teams under what our mission and purpose is, and announce that to the rest of the Radicle community and kind of have some emergent cohesion that spurs from I guess that conversation, you could say. So that's something that Tom and I are going to be working on together, which I think is really exciting, and it's something that I think a lot of people have been looking for a while. So we'll start there. moving from there, we also kind of came to an understanding that we can develop, or maybe should develop, a set of criteria for making funding decisions. So basically, how do you decide if something's funding? If something's mission aligned, how do you make a decision for, what other criteria are baked into that process? And also, what principles should work that's funded by the Radicle DAO abide by? And this came from a lot of discussions around like values and value alignment, and how do you determine if work is valuable to be funded when people have differing opinions on what valuable is. And we actually have some, rough technical principles that we've spoken about publicly before in our Towards Decentralized Code Collaboration blog post that's on our website. But we thought it would be a really great exercise to, in addition to this Radicle mission purpose document, to also agree upon a set of criteria that we use for making funding decisions, and a set of two sets of principles for making funding decisions. One of those being DAO principles. So basically, like how I describe it is a set of principles that are derived from the DAO's collective evolutionary purpose, which is this term that relates to what the DAO is kind of like evolving to be and what its purpose is, and deriving the principles directly from that purpose to support the way that we're developing our DAO culture. And so those are kind of more, you could say, like social principles in which we want our contributors to have alignment with, but they are also deeply impact the way that we design our MV DAO and our DAO itself. And so you'll be able to see kind of the distinctions into how this plays into the org design. And I think the post that we're putting together like shows how a principle could then make its way to a design constraint. But we're ideally we'll be able to kind of find some cohesion and agree on a set of principles that contributors will then, kind of act by as they participate within the Radicle DAO. And then we have a set of technical principles. And so these are sets of principles that can be applied to evaluate if work is value aligned. And because Radicle is building like deeply value or ideologically driven technology, we believe that actually having a more defined set of technical principles that usually relates to kind of like free and open source software and like decentralized technologies, we think that it's really important to actually have those in place, because we can use those to guide our funding decisions to make sure that the work and the development that we're funding is always aligned with the technical values that we think then align with the Radicle mission and purpose. So again, I'll share this link right here in the meetings channel. We have like kind of like a first stab of what those are. I think we have to kind of like rework them a little bit to fit within like where Radicle is now. But it's all about, again, like the future of decentralized collaboration as a whole, and what values we think are necessary to kind of steward that future forward. So that's where we're going next with org design. Those are kind of like the immediate next steps that we're working on. As I mentioned, for the criterion principles, that will be a discourse post that we'd actually love everybody who's interested in participating in the development of those. We'd love for you to take a look at the discourse post and read through it, since that's where we'll be kind of collecting consensus, if you will. And then Tom and I will be taking a first stab at this Radicle mission purpose document as well, and we'll be moving that through, you could kind of say like a soft ratification process with our current contributors. And then finally, we're starting to experiment with different mechanisms for evaluating work within our project. That's kind of like more of an internal thing, but starting to understand how reporting work could be reframed as checking in on core team health, and deploying mini experiments in the form of like social changes within the way that we're currently working with each other. And so we'll be able to see the results of these experimentations in the next iterations of the design. So That's the update from the org design team. I just talked a lot, so I wanted to give Angie or Louis a second to chime in here if you had anything to add. Angie, on what I just said, and Louis, if you want to kind of talk through how we're changing the way we work a little bit, that would be great as well. You just might have to raise your hand to join the stage.
No, that was a great summary, Abby. Thank you for that. And just as since I don't think not all of you, of course, were necessarily at our offsite. So, and just to piggyback on that last item that that Abby mentioned with regards to experimenting with ways to evaluate how work is going within within the Radicle core teams. The point here too is, as mentioned, Abby mentioned before, a lot of what we're doing within the org design is creating structure that can fulfill some of the can fulfill in a DAO structure some of the responsibilities that are currently being taken on by the Foundation Council. And so one of those current things is checking in with core teams and understanding what the progress of core teams, what their current needs are, and challenging the ideas and strategy of core teams. With some of the things that we're going to try to experiment with in terms of like maybe formalizing that check-in process. One of the things that I think is we heard consensus, more or less consensus about within the offsite is that people generally agreed that they think that the idea of a DAO structure that more enables, supports, and shepherds core teams is more productive than maybe a top-down gatekeeper approach to deciding what gets funded, how are core teams being evaluated, and sort of like very numerical ways of deciding whether you hit your targets or not. So this is something that we're, as Abby said, still in the process of experimenting with, and want to kind of work towards that in the coming weeks. So with that, Louis, if you want to maybe just go through a couple of the documents that you've revamped, because all the credit goes to you.
You're speaking, we can't hear you. Or maybe I can't hear you.
No, I can't hear her either.
Oh, they left. Well,
Yep, they're gonna rejoin, perhaps.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Hey, Louis.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Can hear you.
Awesome. Sorry about that. So essentially what we're, as like Abby and Ange talked about, we're really working on trying to open up like how we can.
Oh no, we lost you again.
Oh no.
No, I can hear you, Louis.
Oh really? Then this is my problem. I'll leave and come back.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Sorry. So what we're really working on is how we can open up sort of this like work stream to have more collaborators, especially after the offsite. We really wanted to see like how we kind of organize ourselves a little bit. And so this starts with just like opening up our workspace and like documents that we've been working on. Give us a little bit towards the end of this week for us to kind of publish all the public to publicize all the documents. We're just cleaning up notes and it's just a little bit messy. And then that way we can share a lot of kind of our works in progress, including documentation. One of the things that's coming up for this month in my project particularly is sort of doing collaborative research on different like org design structures from existing orgs that are in crypto, not in crypto, from other open source projects. And that's something that I'm really excited about because that's something anyone can contribute to, and hopefully we can make like a little learning circle so that we can share, we can sort of share the knowledge around different mechanics of how orgs function and how that might work best for Radicle. The other documents are just sort of summarizing what org design is, and our weekly updates are gonna be more public on there, so we have an archive as well. So yeah, just watch out for that towards pretty much the end of this week. As Andrew and Abby just came back from vacation, we're just working on cleaning things up. Did I leave anything else out?
No, I think that covered everything. Perfect. Thanks so much for the update, both of you. So yeah, if anybody has questions, I would even say don't even drop it in the meetings channel, but just drop it directly in the org design workstream channel. We're really loving the chatter there. And so yeah, feel free to just kind of continue tuning in there, and we'll be sharing lots more updates there as well. Cool. So that's the end of the org design update. We don't have any updates on the distribution of influence update, but we do have the Otterspace community riffing around our forum here and there. They just received a Radicle grant a couple weeks ago, I think, at this point, to start experimenting and building out soulbound contributor badges. And it looks like they're ready to start milestone 2. So they just completed milestone 1, and that means that work around the distribution of influence workstream are going to really start ramping up, as milestone 2 is working with us to start workshopping what we need or would need from an NFT badge system. So I think Boredom and I will be, looping Otterspace into the conversations that we're having and workshopping with them to start figuring out how we could start deploying our own membership model within the Radicle DAO in preparation for the transition. So tune in to that forum to kind of see stuff in their progress. And I think when the time comes, we'll also create our own channel as well for discussion with regards to distribution of influence. So with that, I'll wrap up the transition to the DAO updates and then create the space for others to join. I'm not sure if other people wanted to chat. I saw Nassar in here briefly, so he could have given an EGF update, but I'm sure that he'll share it on the forum at some point. And then for everybody's knowledge, Boredom, who runs the grants program, the first grant season actually just ended a couple weeks ago. And so Boredom's currently spinning up the next proposal for Radicle Grants Season 2. So we'll be getting back to grants pretty soon. So yeah, so I'll leave it open for any questions or community discussions now. And if there aren't, then I'll just wrap it up here and call it a short one. So if you have a question or a comment, now's the time to raise your hand or drop it in the meetings channel. Okay, then it seems like we're all on the same page. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their summer, and then we'll sync back in September, which I'm sure will be a very, very exciting call. So thank you everybody for joining.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye.